Welcome to this month's Friend of a Friend with Creative Pinellas. I'm glad you're able to join us, as you probably saw on the title screens here. Tonight's guests is Zulu painter and Reid Jenkins. If you're new to this series, this is really a fun one that I really enjoy being able to do. It's a show that really aims to show how the arts community in Pinellas County and even beyond is just one large community, tying one artist to the next. And we do that by having this month's guest be next month's host, and the process just keeps going on and on. So if you tuned in last month, you would have seen Zulu Painter was last month's guest for iBombs, and now he's going to be this month's host, and he selected artist Reid Jenkins as his guest. So we look forward to this conversation tonight. At the end of tonight's conversation, Reid Jenkins will mention who next month's guest will be, because of course he'll be the host. So we look forward to that. I'd like to just briefly introduce Zulu Painter. Zulu Painter, you're likely familiar with him if you're familiar with the arts here in Pinellas County. He works in traditional media such as painting, acrylic painting, also does murals, does many different types of artwork, whether it's here locally, nationally, even internationally, and even with some very high profile clients, creating art everywhere, and just really a very positive, talented artist that we're happy to be working with. And so I'm introducing now Zulu Painter as this month's host, and I'll let you guys take the conversation away. I'll see you guys at the end of the episode.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Reid.
What's up, Zuby?
What does it do, my friend?
You know, another day, you know, back to the grind. The grind is real.
The grind is real.
Say.
The grind stays real.
All the time. All the time.
Dude. So like, your machine, what's that? Is that a new canvas behind you right there?
Yeah, that one, it's like a 8 foot by 4 foot canvas. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it's not that big. It's not a little big.
8x4. You painting mini murals over there.
Yeah, man. I enjoy the size just because you can get the freedom to actually like move your whole arm to paint, and when you're actually making a stroke, you can actually really get involved in the process of it. You know,
get loose.
Oh no, always got to stretch. Always got to stretch. You know, yeah.
I'm a tall guy. I got a long trip to my toes to stretch, so you know, sometimes you gotta take it easy.
Oh yeah, you throw your back out. Trying to get there. Yeah, man.
So tell me what's new.
You name it, I seem to be doing it. I'm always my schedule's pretty packed most of the time, so I'm either on a mural job, either doing my own or subcontracting, working on paintings for clients or myself, or I'm tattooing, working with clients.
Yeah, man, you're a busy guy, jack of all trades.
Yeah, it's more of, I think, a survival tool in order to, you know, because making a living as an artist, you don't really have any money coming from anywhere other than like your next job. So it's always, you know, it's a constant feast or famine, and I'd rather be eating just because my kids like to eat food and I like to let them eat food.
You gotta eat, baby. You gotta eat.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So you're amazing. I think I really love your paintings. You paint in acrylics, but I think they look like oils.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I think it's partly just because of the way I layer the technique. I do a lot of like washes, or like I like history marks a lot in work, with the way you can see old marks that were not necessarily intentional showing through. And I think a lot of times when you're trying to get the vibrancy of life, you see a lot of reflective light in life, and I like to try to get that captured into the work, and I think that gives it more of that oil feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Danny, can you pull up picture number 5? So you're gonna use some of this technology to show off some of those skills, bro. This is like one of my favorite paintings that you've done. Like, you have some magic going on right here, bro.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, this is right before probably maybe a year before the Black Lives Matter movement started. I mean, you're talking about, I don't know, or was it Gardner, who was choked out by the police in New York. Um, I don't know. For me, this whole idea that we always like, this piece is more about like there's more, like it's called more to self, and the idea that we always underestimate ourselves or always put ourselves down, and not thinking that we are what other people say we are. And I find a lot of times, especially in society, you put that upon Black males in particular, which I didn't quite get, because that was my high school years. Most of my friends in high school were African American. Um, kind of brought me into the idea of, how a man should act, how you treat one another. Um, so it was kind of like an ode to that. And then when I went to school in Baltimore, I mean, if you ever been to Baltimore, it's a primarily, predominantly Black city, a lot like DC. And so the background here is actually an aerial view of Baltimore, in a place that was near where I lived when I lived in Baltimore.
Oh wow. Okay. You feel like you
Yeah, it doesn't.
sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No. You go
No.
ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, just kidding.
No,
Okay,
you
I'm
go
gonna go
ahead.
ahead.
No.
I'm gonna go ahead. Sorry. Oh, so this piece is this guy the subject is he from Baltimore?
Actually, I do not know. He is one of those randomly when you're searching, and this is one of those things where this is also a point where I started to gravitate to using my own models.
References?
So references, just taking my own photos. But this one I actually had to put together, I think, from like 2 or 3 different photos in order to like actually put him together and to construct him, which, I'll do that, just by looking at I think this one I actually sketched in a sketchbook beforehand, and then kind of put together a visual reference, and then yeah, and then I transferred it onto a canvas. I think this one's what, 5 feet by 4 feet, and yeah, a lot of it is, I think a lot of this actually, a lot of the base is done in like MTN water based cans, and then
Oh, so there's some spray paint on this.
yeah, there's actually a lot of spray paint. The background, and I would say a lot of his base layers are spray paint. And then I'll go back with like, with golden acrylic, like heavy body, and then work right on top of it and push the values.
I love it. It's got a lot of beautiful layers in that galaxy.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, sometimes it's best to use the tool that's best for the piece, instead of trying to force a tool to do something that it's not really designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that in itself can help speed up the process, but it also can speed up the learning curve a lot of times. Like if you know how to do it with a brush, why wouldn't you use a can if it's going to be a faster, execution?
Facts. Danny, can you pull up number 14? Tell me about this one, Reid.
This was inspired by an Outcast song. The title of it is the line, I'll kind of, I won't say it exactly word for word, but it says is every person with dreads for the cause, is everyone with gold for the fall.
No, don't get caught up in appearance.
Right. And so it's a lot of that is just, it's the idea of, what you see or your perception of who this person is not the reality of who they are, and then a little ode to like Basquiat with the crown.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like, I mean, a 5-point crown is more or less more of an homage to me growing up in the area of St. Pete that I grew up. So, and that's just, yeah, like subculture and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm really digging the way you're wanting the viewer to dig deeper. You want people to like look beyond the surface. Is that correct?
No, that's absolutely correct. I think a lot of times we take things for granted, or we take things for just, we see something and, it's like you want to look at it and say, oh no, those are, that's a homeless person, they're just bummed, they're lazy, or, you see this person over there in a, suit and tie, oh, they must be rich and successful. Like you're making determinations without really even knowing the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times we need to pull ourselves back and start questioning how we view other people. So
I feel you. How about number 6, Danny? Because what I'm feeling, Reid, like you got this great sense of of humanity and like I love that you don't do a whole bunch of celebrity portraits. You're doing real people that you know, and like you're really like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't like doing celebrity portraits. Well, I do it for commission, yeah, but why do something that's I feel like everyday people are just as important as a celebrity, and sometimes even more important with the impact that they make on themselves and others. Like this guy for here, this is Dookie or Sabat. This is actually the guy. Yeah, this is actually the guy who taught me how to tattoo. Yeah, so a lot of times, like, they play a lot of dominoes, cards, and I think this was actually at his gender reveal party for his daughter. And yeah, just a snapshot.
You captured a monumental moment right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments in those, and if you've ever been to something that's like a Cambodian get together or like an Asian party, there's a ton of things going on. There's people cooking everywhere. Like I saw reference photos that I haven't even gone through in order to make paintings yet, just because there's a lot of material there that you can actually go through, and that I personally feel is very inspiring. But it also, it also makes me reflect a lot on my childhood. Just growing up in this area, because it was so diverse growing up. Like, I mean, the neighborhood I grew up in was predominant, it was white, Hispanic, and Asian. And, it wasn't, I think it was like about end of elementary and middle school where you had a lot more Black families start moving into the same neighborhood. So it became like really diverse. And I think for myself, it's a nice reflection on my childhood to go into different homes and people of different backgrounds, and really seeing how their house worked, or their culture worked. And I don't know, I feel blessed to be exposed to that. So
yeah, it is. It's a blessing indeed. Like you really grow from knowing different kinds of people and getting different perspectives.
Absolutely. And this piece is actually like one of the first like small pieces I've done in a long time. Like this one, I think is like 2.5 inches by like 5 or something like that.
Wow. What's the biggest canvas piece you've done?
8 by 5. And 8 by 5. And I think if I look I'll find the number on the thing. It's 15 actually. Yeah, if you want to pull up 15.
Wow, yeah, I remember that one. That massive piece.
Yeah, this one is a monstrosity. I mean, it's done with water-based aerosol and acrylic paint. This is a guy named AJ. Good homie. I really I took the photo really just because we were all hanging out, and part of the things of like a lot of community activities that we do growing up. Some people smoke weed, some people drink, some people just hang out or whatever and bullshit.
Kicking
it. Sorry, pardon my language. But for me, this really like the background. It's Florida. Like if you grew up down here and you've got wild vines growing everywhere, broken down fences, water pipes out of nowhere. And the idea that, this is, for me, this is what building community is. It's just being around your friends, and sharing what you have. I feel like this piece is probably where I think I learned the most when you're working on big work, because you get to actually see every single stroke. You get to see every single mark. And then when you back away from it, it really comes together. Versus a smaller work where you can just sometimes just hang over it too much.
Yeah.
And, you get tunnel vision. I feel like it's hard on bigger work. I feel like it's harder to get tunnel vision a lot of times, just because there's so much to work on.
I usually get a crick in my neck from like being hunched over that little piece,
Oh yeah, your shoulders start to lock up a little bit, and I mean, yeah. And the funny thing is, a lot of time I feel like these bigger ones, they can be a lot more intimate than smaller work.
What was this piece for? This big one?
This one was for Creative Finale's Arts Annual.
Oh.
So this one took about a month to complete. Primarily because of the detail, like, geez Louise, like,
a lot of paint, bro.
I mean, you're talking about, like, if you just break down, I think a lot of times people, you're an artist. Then, like, the cost of doing something this big is around the ballpark of like $500 to $600 just to make it. Because it's, you're talking about paint supplies, you're talking about stretcher bars.
Most people are talking about discount.
No. But this is like, I mean, I think this is a lot of times where younger artists, or people who aren't artists in general, just, they don't really know how much it goes to put into work. Like, I mean, you could tell me, like, the cost of a mural, like, how many times have someone said, wow, I got $1,000. Like, but I want this like 60-foot wall done.
Hey, the grind is real.
The grind is real, but I mean, you can take on that kind of project, but how profitable will it be in the long run in order for you to continue to do what you're doing? Like, it's one thing if you have a whole bunch of scrap paint. It's a whole nother thing if, like, I got $1,000 and I still got to pay the electric and the water bill and the car insurance and such,
Danny, can you pull up number 16? We got things. This one.
Oh.
Who's that guy in there?
Oh, Justin Wager.
Justin Wager.
Wager. And this was I got a little more conceptual with this, and parts of it are based off photographs and then clipping it all together. And this is actually, I was talking with Justin at a moment on this, and this was kind of reflecting on the decline of his grandmother and how he was struggling with it, and at the same time he was trying to figure out how to tell his mother he was dropping out of school, really just to follow being an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it, from my perspective, it was the idea of looking backwards, like, and reflecting on it. I mean, you can see in there's a home that's not finished, and that's a lot of personal things with Justin and his home life. With one parent, and with one parent being there and one parent not, and the support and longing for that, his grandparents, and how much they actually put into him as a youth. And if you look in the far distance, there's a lady walking with two kids, which is Justin and his cousin, and his grandmother would walk him to the bus stop and home, like, almost every day. So you have this this fond memory that he's looking back on while he's struggling at the moment in time that he's living. And of course, you got the little Kanye bear down there as, like, the college dropout.
Yeezy.
Yeah. And this is actually the backside of the tattoo shop.
It feels like an oil painting.
Yeah, it's the layering of acrylic paint. Like if you just take the time and let it just dry and let it and work around, or sometimes you work wet on wet with it, you can start to get these textures and these marks that feel like acrylic or feel like oil versus being acrylic.
And there's additives you can use too to make it more like an oil painting, right? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there is, but I don't use them. Like it's literally just the way I use heavy body acrylic. Yeah, and like I said, the water-based acrylic spray cans. It's really just a trial and error. And I don't know, like when we were doing a walkthrough of the last Arts Annual with Danny doing a gallery tour, and Danny posed a question of, and I don't know what it's like for you, so this is a good one. Is it about the finished product or is it about the process? And everybody says it's about the finished product, and it had me start to think about it for myself what it really is, and I'm more in love with the process and figuring out the process, which was a nice like reflective moment. So what about you? What for your work, is it more about the process or the product?
it's all the above, brother. It's all the above. Things change like right at the canvas or at the wall or at the iPad, where I go into it thinking it's one thing, and then there's all these other opportunities to grow. And so it's everything, man. I wish there was. No, I don't wish it. It's everything.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, you got to have a good, finished product. I think for myself, I kind of get let down at the end. Yeah, it's great, a great finishing. But I'm let down that the whole process portion of it is done versus, it's fulfilling to be done, but at the same time, it's, yeah, not, it's all you can learn from that.
I have a hard time knowing when done is done. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I think that's part of the process, is knowing when to put down the brush or put down the can or the roller and be like, yeah, at this point, this is as far as I can push. This is as far as I can, dissect this or construct it, for the effects that I want. And going any further is just, pointless. But that line in the sand can be very frugal at times. Sometimes it's right there and it's black and white, and other times one little smidge over that line, you have to redo a whole section. So it's like,
no.
yeah, I mean, that's for me. I've painted whole sections of a painting and then done one thing, and I'm like, oh man, that wasn't a good idea. And just yeah, and then it's like, oh, okay, how can I fix this the fastest way? And then it goes back to the process, and it can get a little bit of, sometimes it could be a little obsessive, and that perfectionist aspect, which I'm trying to learn to let go.
You gotta let your inner Bob Ross out.
Happy
accident.
Bro, happy accidents, happy trees, like I sometimes I just want a nice pine tree though.
Layers.
Layers to this, layers. Yeah, man.
Any major influences that like really inspiring you these days, old or new?
I'm a huge Sargent fan. Huge. Like I love Sargent's work. I love Norman Rockwell's gallery work. Like his his editorial work, it's brilliant. It's very clever. It's just it's not as impactful as his personal work. Diego Velasquez, just because I think if you're a modern day painter at all, like he's kind of the one that kicks us all off on whether you're doing realism and impressionism, or like he's kind of like the godfather of it all. And then guys I went to high school with, which is really makes me feel old, because they're doing so well. It's like Michael Vasquez, Eric Jones, Derek Donnelly. I think out of our class, we're the four that are still actually working, and to see what those three guys have done is always inspiring. I mean, I couldn't say it's like a competition thing at all. I think it's more or less, it's just, well, dang, man, if they can do that, I can do that too, And
Right.
then and then of course, like you're around everyday friends, like, like Justin's always inspiring. You're always inspiring. Jabari is inspiring, especially just such a great guy, such a great talent.
Raw talent, just like it's pure, just coming right out of the universe, straight out of his hands.
Oh yeah, and I love his, he takes it all in, and then he filters through it, and then kicks it back out the way he wants to take it in, or he just discards it, which I think is what we all need to learn to do, especially in critiques. I think more modern day artists
It's hard. It's hard to critique.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have someone like tear me apart and me be like, no, man, you're crazy. And then have to dwell on the thoughts of the words that have come out of your mouth and be like, nah, man, you don't know what you talk. Maybe you do know what you're talking about. And start to question that, just because at that point I can go back, I can sit there and I can reflect on it. And I can really pick apart whether I agree with the critique or I don't agree with the critique. I think a lot of times artists are afraid to have that harsh critique. I'd rather have you tear me apart and, like, I don't know, like maybe I'm a glutton for punishment or something, but I'd rather have you tear apart my work, in a personal critique. That way I have more to analyze and more to take in and more, I get to be more thoughtful about the work that I am making. Yeah. And I mean, like, yeah, there's so many great like modern artists that are like, what is it? Actually wrote some names down. Swoon's always inspiring, the way like she can literally take like a whole room and reconstruct it into feeling like just a giant painting that you're walking through. Sainer. Sainer is a beast of ETM crew. Like those dudes and the way they use those pastel-y color palettes with like solid shape fills in order to indicate space and depth. And that's amazing to me. Like the simplicity that you can get with it is just amazing. Hello, honey. My 8-year-old.
Family. How's the family doing?
My 8-year-old. Good. My 8-year-old just walked. She just got done with soccer, and then was it this guy who's a phenomenal muralist? Was it Seabass Valesco? Like, you're talking huge murals that look like they should just be on canvas. Yeah, just amazing work. Yeah.
Danny, can you pull up number 13? Or we can do a. Oh snap!
Oh, so this guy apparently has a twin brother, and and the one thing I could say about this, I think I took this reference shot of you 2 years ago, maybe.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. No, yeah, and then I had to edit it together in order to get your hands to fit in there, because that. But yeah, you're always inspirational in the idea that you're always like, there's always light, there's always positive. Like, what you put out in the universe, it comes back to you.
Some would call that goofy.
Some would call it goofy. Some would call it this. I think it's an honest perspective that life is short, and if you're looking for bad things, it's all you're going to find. If you're looking for things, you put it out in the universe, good things will happen. Good things will happen to you.
It's hard. I mean, the whole world, we all go through it, right? And things get us all tied up and twisted, and we're like, how do I shake it? And then someone comes along and they're like, hey, you can do it this way, and you're like, shut up.
Right. But then sometimes you're like, when you stop and think about it, like, man, really, yeah, it's really not that bad. Like as horrible as things can get, it could always be worse. And if
and a lot of artists thrive on it.
You know what? I would say, yeah, a lot of artists do thrive on it. I would say I am not one of them. In my years of trying to understand myself, I feel like if you put yourself in a positive mind frame, therefore you're going to want to create more work, or at least for myself, I want to create more work. I want to do more. I want to put myself, push myself to, you know, get up early, work all the way through the day until it's almost, the point of exhaustion, and
Pass out.
pass out, and then get up and do it all over again. Like, and that is, I don't know, for me, I get the most joy out of it. Um,
Danny, can we see
yeah,
number
but
12? Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Keep going, Reid.
Um, but yeah, no, I feel like those things are, for me, that's what's motivating, is just to continue to look forward to making a better life, and better work, and enjoying the moments that I have with friends and family, and so especially nowadays when you actually get to see somebody, you're like, hey, you're waving at them, 20 feet away. Um, but those are great moments, and I really feel like my work is more or less gravitating toward the idea of just making people look around everything around them. That's a lot more important than looking down at your phone or caring what the Kardashians are doing. Like, I feel like your neighbor's going to be a lot more interesting than TMZ, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's real out here, bro. I somehow lost. Did he pull up number 12?
I don't have it on my screen. Oh, here it comes.
There we go. There we
Ah,
go. Tell me about this beautiful piece of work right here.
this is James Anderson. This is my homeboy Jimbo. Jimbo, this is when I actually started taking photo references for the concept came when Obama was in office, actually. The idea that you can be on one side of things, and you think you're like conservative, Democrat, whatever have you, but the idea that the side you're on you think is really for you, and yet they're attacking you at the same time, whether it be Democrat, Republican, or whatever. But for Jimbo, a lot of times has felt like everybody's attacking him at one time, and even the people he's siding with, he doesn't necessarily realize like that's not necessarily the people you should be siding with. But at the same time, who am I to say that that's right or wrong? I just can see when people, you can start to see the hurt that other people cause them when they're still trying to be on that side.
Trauma.
And then yeah, and then like the fruits, like the fruits representation of the what is it, the forbidden fruit, basically, the death of knowledge. And then the background is a whole bunch of playing with rollers and spray paint, and just to get nice textures, and
Painterly.
paint, just being real painterly. But yeah, and then when I originally was doing this piece, it was actually Jimbo was supposed to face the other way, because traditionally you're not supposed to have the figure face off a canvas like that close to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like if I did that and I hit it on the side, then I could actually play with a rule of thirds, which, like a balanced composition in a different way, to have it, to use color to balance instead of just using objects. Okay. I think a lot of, like in the idea of abstractionism, like they use a lot of times, they use color to balance things, and there's nothing really there, but who says you can't do that while using recognizable images as well?
Pretty good. Yeah, man. Is he an artist also?
He is a rapper. He is a local rapper. Sometimes he is, what is it? He works in restaurants. Sometimes he works on, I think right now he's working on a t-shirt. Yeah, no, yeah, he's a musician, very creative, just hip hop, trying to put his own spin on it, musically. Great friend, one of the best friends you'll ever have. Give your right arm for you.
So you won't have a problem asking him if he's good.
Yeah,
you good?
Yeah, like I talk to him a lot of times with just where he is mentally, and then we can agree to disagree, and sometimes I feel like dude, you're just being your own worst enemy, or other times he just tells me why he feels that way, and I'm like, I can see why you feel that way. but again, like I said, I thrive off relationships, and I've been lucky enough to know this guy for quite a few years now, probably at least 10. Yeah.
These times are like very trying. It's the time to ask people if they are good, check up on them, because these emotional moments. We're stuck in our houses. We're like stuck in our heads. You know what I mean? So that, are you participating in that You Good campaign?
I am. I'm doing a piece, for the warehouse district. Yeah. All right. What about you, my friend?
I am. I can't wait to see what you come up with.
Yeah, likewise. It'll be a nice adventure. No, I'm really excited to see some of the artists that are actually on that bill. I'm really excited to see the work and just to see what comes out of it. But no, speaking of checking up on your friends, I was just checking up on my buddy Kirk, who's an artist in Texas. He's in Dallas Fort Worth, and I was like, "Bro, you good?" He's like, "I just got power back an hour ago." So like, it's real out there.
They're going through it in Texas.
People, yeah. Oh, I think like anywhere but here. Like Florida's just like, nah, we're just not participating right now. In any kind of cold weather. But yeah, no, I got really worried about him just because of the concern of being a human being and knowing that you have a friend that's out there, and the likelihood of anybody doing good right now in Texas is not very good.
No, big up. We'll pray for him in Texas and all kind of positive vibes, because people don't have power. They're probably stuck. They're snowed in and stuck, and they can't.
Oh, the water mains. Yeah, and the water mains broke. Like they had water mains burst, so like they can't drink the water. It's conserving it. They're boiling it. Like,
wow.
I think for those kind of events that definitely can creep into your psyche and end up in your work just from the expressive or of being an emotional creature.
I do know. Lots of time my family, because those are the people that I'm closest to. They're the ones that end up in the work. What about number one, Danny?
Going back to number one.
Number one. One.
Mm-hmm.
Really dig this piece, Reid. Really dig. There's so many layers of goodness in this bad boy.
This is probably like, I think, the piece that kind of kicked me off in the way I make work now compared to how I used to make work. If you ever go on my Instagram, you can scroll it down far enough and be like, this work looks nothing like this work. But this is a friend of mine. This is Mike Lucas. And yeah, Mike was one of my closest friends growing up. I was lucky to have him like actually pose for this on top of his his dunk. But the idea of just trying to play with, like, again, color and how you mark make, and yeah.
The reflection in that chrome is beautiful.
Thank you, sir. That's one of those, like, you get to play when you see too much color and you get to like throw it in everywhere else you can see it. Just by putting a stroke down, because a lot of those are just like single strokes. And then that just give it that effect.
Anything you want to do as an artist that you haven't explored yet?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is I may at some point want to get back into printmaking, like linoleum cuts or something like that. But right now, I feel like now I'm just starting to scratch the surface of where I want to go with painting. Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot more I can dig into, like really dig in and really just figure out a direction with painting. Cast molding would be fun to do too. I've thought about doing that. Yeah, but right now it's primarily painting. I think whenever we take on a new I don't know, like a new medium, like tattooing is nothing like painting. Nothing
like it.
No, your canvas screams at you some days.
And it
And
moves.
it moves, it squirms, it bleeds. It's it's always a collaborative effort. Like there's no solo effort in tattooing. Like it may, even if it's just your design, like you have to tattoo it on someone, so they're there, so it's automatically a collaborative effort, and then you have to deal with, you know, yeah, it's just a whole different animal. It's just, but it's never, you can't, it's never a solo project unless you're working on yourself. And I don't dig stabbing myself. I'd rather have someone else do it.
I think
But
it's
yeah,
pretty brave to be a tattoo artist.
um, I think it pushed me to the idea of what I love about like painting is, which is really weird, is the idea of the perfect mark. Like when you put a mark down, there is no erase button. It is what it's supposed to be. And I think like when you get to those masters, I mean, especially if you look at Picasso's, shows in like France where he's like knocking out 3 pieces a day, and just the deliberateness of every stroke. It's just bam, we're done. Like everything's just bam, 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 done. Next one up. Um, there's a real mastery to that. There's a lot of intelligence, and I think a lot of confidence that you can get through that with just knowing where to put a mark at that moment. There's no second guessing, and if it's wrong, fuck, pardon me, you just go. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be PC. I drop a lot of F-bombs in my personal life, except when I'm around my kids. But no, yeah, that permanent mark, that one mark. I think that's why I like using spray paint. It's very similar. Like you doing the right layers and the right strokes, and then when you have to come off of it, like if you mess up that one pull, you're redoing that whole section again, just like we talked earlier, and then getting right back to trying to get to that final mark. And I think it's a beautiful thing when you can get to the idea of a mastery of a mark.
Yeah, knowing that knowledge, that muscle memory.
Well, and it's having the wisdom to apply the knowledge, like, and when not to, you know.
I guess I see some questions. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask you these questions from Facebook.
Go ahead.
See, Blue is asking, have you ever considered art in a fashion show as wear?
No, I haven't. I have had images that were printed on shirts. I think the most fashion I get is when I'm walking around in paint pants and someone's offering to buy my paint pants, or where did I buy
They
them?
want to buy those.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm walking around in like a plain t-shirt with paint on my pants. No, the pants, man. Where'd you get them? Like, I painted in them. Nah, man, those are dope. Like, and you're like, all right, cool. Like, I mean, and there are people that sell paint pants, I guess, or maybe I just need to start selling my pants, and maybe I can make a fortune.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's a side job.
yeah. See, no, I'm just gonna stop everything else and just like paint, and just to get paint on my pants. That's new hustle.
The canvases don't matter.
Canvases don't matter. It's what goes on the pants. But no, I mean, I'd love to. I think. Yeah, no. Now I actually know. Now I'm gonna go try and find some sneakers that I'm not gonna pay too much for, and try and like deck them up and hopefully not ruin them. And if I ruin them, oh well.
Yeah. Dion wants to know if you see the world as a combination of realism and abstraction.
Yeah. I think because you can only focus on one thing at a time. So like if I'm focusing on a figure, the background's just it's a blur. It's really just color markings. I mean, it probably doesn't help that I have astigmatism. I can, up close, I can see things really well. And then, as I get further back, they get a little bit cloudy. And which is probably to my benefit a little bit, I guess, for what I like to do. Because then
so you're saying sorry, I was going to say, if you see you squinting, you're not necessarily like upset by anything. You're just trying to check it out.
No, yeah, and and I used to get that as a kid. Like what are you mad about? Because I'd be like this, looking like, what are you mad about? I'm like, they don't lock the door. Yeah, or looking down the street, like, is that who I think it is? And as you get older, your vision's not as good. I mean, I still have 20/20 vision apparently. That's what the eye doctor tells me. But yeah, things just aren't crisp from like maybe 15 feet away. Like everything just has a slight blur. So yeah, so I guess I see the world a little bit in realism, and abstraction, and yeah. Wow, learning about yourself.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, man.
I think you have to look at everything kind of abstractly, right? Like we all do it. Once it enters our brain, we break it down in our own way, which is abstract compared to what another person might view the same
Right,
thing.
and I think if you can embrace that abstraction, it allows you to tiptoe in and out of the box as you wish. It can give you, like, people are going to think of it as in being like, I don't know, it's like you're taught to draw one way, but then all of a sudden you'll learn a new technique and it's like, where can I fit that in the way I draw? Like versus like, doing gesture drawings and then incorporating like traditional Eastern European drawing, or subtractive drawing where you just, you're literally shading the whole paper and then erasing with an eraser in order to get the forms to build it out, and then combining them all together and making like one big, it's like a soup of techniques. It's a nice broth.
Right. Danny McCauley wants to know if you have any upcoming shows.
The You Good. I'm in that, and then I'm in the Afterlife show at the Mize Gallery.
Afterlife.
Afterlife, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, you go.
No, yeah, no, just those are the two shows that I have upcoming that I'm in. And other than that, it'll be applying to other shows in other states and along with whatever's local. And yeah, just apply.
Dion wants to know, hi Dion, by the way. Hi Steven. I wants to know how much for the pants.
How much for the pants? I don't know. I got to do some marketing research. Like I might have to go talk. To iBombs because he's got the best. Maybe I can get a good idea on it. I don't know. Can I get them from a thrift store and then pay them? Would that work?
Oh.
Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's where I get a lot of my clothes are from thrift store or from like a sale at Target, just to be fancy.
Tarjay, you're not out here spinning out for the Supreme gear.
No, I've never really been into like you could say, oh man, there's some, you don't know about those. There's some Barclays. Like I didn't know until you told me. I just don't have. I wish I was trendy. I'm not trendy at all. Like
Me neither.
No, it's just I like what I like. Like if I feel like it's a good design, if I feel like it's smooth, I think some of the best things are the simplistic or the most simple. Yeah, I used to be a huge Echo fan though. Like when I was in high school, like Mark had like the flyest gear because you had all the images that as an artist you're just like, man, what, he's got a devil and an angel fighting and it's coming out of smoke out of a guy's nose. What's going on here? Like
Echo was amazing. Great art.
Oh, amazing. And I feel like that, that's probably as far as I really go for like, as much as I've been into fashion because, I think once I got to later years in like high school, I was just had plain white shirts and pants that had paint on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you should have kept those pants and you could have sold them.
Yeah. See, and then like how it is when you've been working in work pants long enough, then you start to get the nice little rips in it. That seems to be in style now. So you get these nice little, yeah. It's like so, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. It's very reminding. It reminds me a lot of like early '90s style right now. Like a lot of style I see.
It all comes back.
It's just one big circle. One big circle. Yeah.
If you were to meet, if you had a chance to meet any artist out of history and have a good 1 hour conversation, who would that be?
Probably
Pat,
Michelangelo.
not living, huh?
Oh, Michelangelo. Hands down Michelangelo. And the reason I say Michelangelo is he's probably the most well diverse artist of the Renaissance. Like, dude, like, David, statue of David's carved out of a piece of marble that's not perfect at all and should have split into like several pieces while he's carving it. And dude just looks at it like, how am I going to do this? And then he just does it. And to the paintings, really a great grasp on anatomy. I mean, most of his, and I mean, I don't know, maybe it plays on my childhood a little bit because they, like modern day superheroes. I feel like definitely those guys were looking at Michelangelo's work because everybody was so buff versus like Raphael, who's just everything was really soft and, dainty.
Botticelli.
Botticelli? Yeah,
I was wondering if you bought any chili when you got cold the other night.
No. I should have. I think I just had a smoothie, which is not good at all. So what about you? What kind of artist would you like to sit down and have a conversation with that's in the past, no longer living?
No longer living. I would Salvador Dali, man. Salvador Dali. If I can get a straight conversation out of him without too many metaphors to confuse me, I'd love to have a conversation with him.
I bet you could if you got him like not in front of anybody else. Like
Go ahead.
No. I was agreeing with you. That was all.
I was going to ask. So, who are you going to interview next?
Justin Wager, actually. Yes, young Justin Wager. I've known the kid since he decided to be an artist. Very deep thinker, very I think just a very thoughtful painter, very thoughtful artist. So yeah.
He's a great spirit.
Yeah. He's feisty. He's a feisty one at times.
All right. Well, we're coming to the end. I'd like to invite Danny to come back on. Danny, come to the stage.
Hey guys.
Hey, Danny.
Thank you for getting me back. It was a great conversation. It was a lot of fun listening to you guys. I have a lot of questions myself. It got me curious about both of your work. I'm gonna take it offline now. Ask you guys in private, but it was really a fascinating conversation. So thanks a lot, Zulu, for hosting, for being last month's guest, and Reid for being tonight's guest and next month's host with Justin Wager. Really looking forward to it. It's really gonna be good. So invite everybody to return next month for the next Friend of a Friend, where Reid turns into next month's host.